It is, and then I'm going to try to share this. When I was reading chapter 8, we're going to go back for a few seconds to chapter 7 because we didn't quite finish that few pieces. But hopefully you can see this poem. It was the very first poem. Well, it was the second. Let me take it back. The second poem that John Kabat-Zinn recited by heart to the community of teachers in 1994. Next year will be 30 years that I will have been involved in mindfulness. And really, in some ways, isn't it true, we're doing it a lifetime. Whether you're in a training or you're not in a training. And if you're not doing it, then the truth is life's doing you. Either way, life is doing you or you're choosing to do life. And I love the combination, boy. I love when you recognize that life is doing you and you show up for it too. So I'm going to read this poem because this is one we should all have somewhere. It's the one we also, I think, forget the most. And Love After Love by Derek Walcott, who was, by the way, Trinidadian, died in 2017. It's a poem about coming home to oneself. And in our loving kindness practice, which we're going to be doing again today, in that practice, we continually forget to come home, both to our own bodies and then to our own aching hearts, right? And then to our weary minds and to ourselves. And so this is a poem that I recite to myself often. Sometimes I change a few of the words and actually it doesn't turn out to matter. And so here it is. Let's prepare to sit. So get yourself established in your posture. This is our aspiration coming alive. And the aspiration is larger. I'm thinking about now. Aspiration is larger than the intentions. The intentions all feed the aspiration, but the aspiration is the big nut, isn't it? The big deal, the thing that we're trying every moment of every day, always, for every breath. And then there's all these intentions, to be kinder, to be connected, to be regarding of self, regarding of others. And we remember our aspiration first as to end all suffering. Number one, to end suffering. And then number two, to do so with love. And whatever its form, right, whatever form it takes, to do so with love. I'm working on that every day, every single day. And here's the poem by Derek Walcott. Love After Love. And I'll try to speak up. The time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the one who has loved you all your life, whom you have ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life. And so we will do so breath by breath. Feast on the preciousness of this human life. And may we do so for Carol and for Courtney, for Gigi and for Paul, for Jola and her college roommate, Paul, and all those who are in need. Adrian's niece, Morgan, We can all think of those who deserve being called to mind and being held right in that breath, right in that heart space. May all beings be happy, safe, free, and have ease. And the first thing we're going to do is turn towards that shaky tenderness. We're not going to try to land in the belly. We're just going to feel towards the body, sitting here, lying here. And then moving into that vibrational territory, that shaky heart, that achy heart, that tender, softened heart. And we breathe into the heart space and we breathe out. Knowing something about this human life. Now, the name of the chapter I was asking Libby is something like The Light of Clarity. I don't know. But I liked with the clarity of love, with the bright light of the loving, compassionate, wise, awakened heart mind. And then wherever the mind goes for this practice, we bring that heart. If you can feel the sensations of your own heart, we offer that love beyond love right there. May I be happy. May I have ease. May I be free from the stress. And peace. And rest there for 3 to 5 breaths, just soaking in that kind attention with that care, that love. Offering it to yourself. Greeting yourself at your own door, in your own mirror, and smiling. And I'm really aware of the shaky tenderness this morning, moving all the way down beyond my heart space, right over to the top of my belly. A little shaky, a little tender. Just dropping in that. I don't need to figure anything out. I don't have to know the whys, the whats. But it is most important that I hold myself in that humanness, in that vulnerability, in that tenderness, and offer myself the blessings of well being. May I be safe. May I be free from distress. May I be well and safe. And may I have ease. And the safety that we're talking about, I thought of it twice, isn't safety from others. It's safety from one's own addictive devices, safety from one's own habitual conditioned mind, safety from the dis-ease of separation, of disconnect, of demand, of expectations, of the prejudice and bias we hold against ourselves, that kind of safety. Safety to rest in our own heart minds. And one of the pieces of imagery frequently offered, particularly by those beautiful Tibetans, is a kind of a light embracing the heart. In my case, maybe uh, inviting that same light, that same loving embrace around that tender belly. May I be safe and well. May I be free from distress and affliction, including my most addictive devices, my own habit mind. May I be peaceful and have ease. Remembering that I am the love I seek. There is no other. And find phrases and imagery that you can repeat that feels most authentic and true for you. And we continue to breathe, but now we breathe with a open heart of love, of compassion. And honoring what it has to tell you, whatever that is. I'm recognizing my own shaky tenderness as my love for my mother, my concern for her and her well being. It may be for another, but it is always, always, and always also for you. Can I feel for my own vulnerability, my own pain or fear or sadness, my own confusion, my own not knowing? And as I open into that, the truth is I can feel more than not only for me, but for others. And often the way this heart expands is to first feel for others who, just like me, know this distress, this pain, this upset too. All those with mothers who are not well, mothers who are aging, maybe mothers who have passed. And as we breathe that, open, we open more. All beings are our mother, including our own mothers. Deserving of care, attention, of love. Whatever else is true. And then calling them to mind, whether it's your own mother, whether it is another deserving of that honoring, that respect, that regard, that care. We could even maybe say devotion. Your own mother and the mother in you, whether you have a child or you don't, you do. And we have tendencies, I think, all of us, to expect things from parents, from mothers. But the sutta says, regard your own mother also as your own precious child. Just to keep that relationship clear, so we don't mistake it as I'm supposed to be getting something. And the real question we ask in this life is, what can I offer? And then we begin once again with ourselves. May I be happy? May I be safe and well? May I be free from all afflictions and all addictions so that I can love well. May I remember that this kindness, this love is available every breath to be received and offered. Breathe it in, and only in its time, remember, when it's right, we send it out. But always, and really always, begin with yourself. Fill up your own tank, open your own heart, clear the debris from your own polluted mind, the mind of me. And you can just continue to recite the phrases, those that are most true, most inviting for your own heart. And you may just stay with yourself if that is best. And remember, we let it open and expand when it comes to mind. And then letting that other come to mind when they do, and offering, of course, this love, these blessings to them with the same whole heart. We breathe it in and then we send the blessings out. May you be happy. May you be safe and well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you remember that you yourself are most deserving of this love and attention. Opening up the front of the heart space, but as well the back. We can shield the heart from the back in a way that does not make it as accessible, as open, as available. And if you notice that contractedness, that tightness, that dis-ease, please stay with yourself. May I be happy. May I be safe and well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I remember that there is no one in the whole of the universe more deserving of my love, my care, and my attention than I am myself. And then we breathe it in. Remembering that the very willingness to stay with oneself, to abide one's own experience, one's own vulnerabilities, humanness, strengths, and goodness is an act of radical love. And as we drop into our own experience, we will recognize that both are right here, both that vulnerability, that tenderness, maybe that fear, that sadness, that confusion, whatever's here is perfect. And then we also recognize that capacity, that stability, that strength, that love that abides whatever is arising. And we do not confuse ourselves with just the experiencer. We also recognize who we really are, the one holding the experience in awareness, in love, with compassion. And we rest in that vast, boundless heart of loving kindness, of compassion, of joy and equanimity, offering our own presence. May I be happy. May I be safe and well. May I be peaceful and at ease. And may I offer myself to myself, remembering this human tenderness and the human tenderness of us all. And then we just let that boundless heart open. Let it move in all directions. Let it find another who might benefit from this love. Resting in our own loving presence, emanating, radiating in all directions, or directly to a source, directly to one in need. Powerful medicine. May we all be happy. May we all be safe and well. May we all be peaceful and at ease. May we all remember that we are deserving of love, care, compassion, and attention. reciting the phrases in whichever direction they are flowing, knowing that this is always equal. When I offer it to me, I'm offering it to you. When I'm offering it to you, I'm offering it to me. The direction is, in fact, a delusion. But the care is the point. May we all smile at our own reflection and feast on our love. Check into the body, see if there's anything that might invite being unknotted. I just had a big neck crack. And so before we go to end of chapter 7 and 8, and we will send this out so that everybody who's not here gets it also. Just checking in on your experience, your connection, your contact with that practice this morning.
I found myself just wanting to keep it close to my heart today rather than sometimes I want to send it out to the world. But for some reason today, I just wanted it to be kind of about my family and just keeping it close.
Yeah. Yeah. And remember, it's not that close anyway, and the closest, it's both, isn't it? Because again, remember, you like others, others like you. And there's no really right or wrong or close or not, or but we might call those people to mind this day, right? Isn't that perfect? Those for whom we recognize suffering or goodness, and those for whom we wish the end of that suffering and the propagation of that goodness. Yeah. Thank you, Cindy. We all needed this today. We need it every day. And then how we do it, right? And the too
It was
often.
like
But yeah. Yes, Dennis.
it was like entering a temple. For me, it was very reverent. It was like just appreciating myself, you, everyone here, and just say thank you.
Yeah, I suppose that is reverence and devotion and the acknowledging the sacred in ourselves and others in the world, especially when it looks so bleak, right? Especially when it's so easy to go, ugh, this is not going very well. And remember, we're always recognizing the truth of suffering. We can't get out of that. It's not an either or situation, is it? It's a both and. We recognize the truth of suffering and we do not propagate it. We offer the antidote. We offer love, kindness, care, compassion, wisdom, right? Whatever we can, as often as we can, in any way that we can. And it all counts. It all counts. So this is the good news. I've got some people down here in chat. I'm going to see if we can't take a look and include them too. Yeah. Thank you. We all need this in some way every day. The teachings say the repetition is a benefit. And so, though we may also do the breath work with regard, with kindness as an attitude or a quality, right? That counts for something. It's understood that the repetition will serve you. That in then the most difficult moment, right? The most scary moment, the most challenging, angering moment, that the phrases will come. And I do notice that. I do notice that. Even when it feels like there's nothing else to hold on to. Maybe is what I mean. Phrases are there. The qualities are there. The Buddha nature, right? In whatever version of that loving presence is there. It's always there. Even when you're going, I don't know. It feels some distance from this mind body. It's not actually true. It's not actually true. And then we offer compassion when we can't offer kindness. Right? Don't we? We offer compassion when we can't do kindness. We go, whoop, I don't got one nice thought going on right here. So then can I offer myself compassion for the recognition that I am causing myself dis-ease, that I'm causing myself illness, that I am making myself sick? No one else. Can I remember and then offer myself the medicine? That's the practice. And the answer is sometimes I can remember, and sometimes I don't. I forget. And so then we offer ourselves compassion for the forgetting, and that's a part of remembering. And so this is always workable, always workable. I'm going to do a share screen now. So if you get your books, we're going to go to the end of chapter 7 first. I'm going to move that back and see if we can. I'm getting better at this. And hopefully everyone can see this now. I decided to go back to, let me see if I can access the page that this is. What is this? It's not coming up. Hopefully it will. I've got something in the way, I think. Flipped on me. I've never done that before. That was interesting. So I'm going to see if I can't get out of this. The poem came back for some reason, but not the. Let's try again. I think you guys were looking at it there for a second, weren't you? There we go. All right, one more time. There's the Kindle. All right, that you should be able to see this now. And we are, I still can't see the page number for some odd reason, but I'm not going to worry about that. And here it says, the world I believe is possible is one where we don't wake up and hear our neighbor is hungry and pull the covers up over our heads, roll over and go back to sleep. Now, I took that in two ways. One, of course, the practicals, but really, don't we? We walk around all day, I think, recognizing suffering, both in ourselves and in others. And I think we go back to sleep, all of us. And I think we have the privilege of doing so, don't we? Because we can turn right over there and just look at the flower or the ocean. And that's not a bad thing. It's not what I mean. But it's easy to go back to sleep and then do nothing. Right? It can be a bad habit. And so the note that I wrote there was, did you notice where and when you go back to sleep instead of remember the truth of our connection and step forward? What beliefs keep you disconnected? What do we have to do to stay that apart? What do we do? And often the number one strategy is get busy. No, we get busy with this very important stuff we do. Right. And then it's easy to forget to include whatever we do in the wishes for our own and others' well-being. And so watch the busyness, very different than the presence. You might be doing exactly the same thing. I was planting plants yesterday. And I was thinking about this a little bit. I was thinking, is this just because I like pretty things? Or is there some benefit? And if there isn't some benefit, what am I doing? Doesn't mean I don't get to like pretty things. But can I do this in some way if I'm going to choose it as one of my to-dos in the day? Can I choose to do it for everyone? And if I can't, then it might be good to pause and then go, is this the thing? And I actually came up with, this probably isn't the thing, actually. And then I was thinking, I've got probably 15 bags of clothes upstairs that might be a good idea to give to somebody. That might have been a thing I could have done. And so guess what's going to be on my list today? And that's a good thing, right? So then it's not right today. Okay, I think so. And so that's the work, right? We're always inquiring, is this just self-satisfying? Is this just, and it doesn't mean we don't get to let it be, remember, but is that what is most needed? Or is that the habit? And so we're always watching for that, and watch where we go to sleep, where we just do what we do because it's the habit of our doing, and not so much to do with what's most needed right now. And the truth is, what's probably most needed right now is for me to be in heaven, probably, which is why it came to mind. Because am I there? Nope. Am I going to get there? I don't know. We're going to see. But then to keep inquiring without right recrimination, without hatred, without judgment, without rejection, without resistance. Because then you can get to the right thing, whatever that is, whether you go or then you don't go. Holding it as the right thing, the right inquiry is also very valuable. And so it says, but still that heartbeat of connection is discernible when we learn to get a little quieter and listen for it. We can take that sense of life into our everyday encounters and situations. And then the quiet pervades, and then the loving heart consumes the space. That's its nature. On interconnection, we respond with much more empathy, compassion, and realistic sense of the world and how much we need each other. Interconnection enables us to see what we do matters. That's a big line, isn't it? It enables us to see that what we do matters because that action ripples out along these threads of connection. When we care, what we care about matters, and who we are matters because we are a part of a greater whole, not just me and those plants, a greater whole. And here's the story I really wanted to go back to chapter 7 with. There's a little girl. This is Annie Lamott tells this story. Annie's just adorable. She looks like a little girl, by the way. She's like 5 foot and weighs like 80 pounds and has little dreads, little short dreads. She's just adorable and brilliant and lives next door to Jack Kornfield, as it turns out. There's a little girl struggling to fall asleep who's quite distressed and anxious. And her mother comes in and keeps saying, "You're okay. Jesus is right here. You're okay. He's right." And she has to do it a couple times. And the mom starts to get a little aggravated by the situation and says, "You know, Jesus is right here now. Just go to bed, go to sleep." And the little girl says so lovingly, "But I need someone with skin on." And I love that. I need someone with skin on. And don't we all need someone with skin on? Yes, we do. And can you be that person? Is the bigger question. Because we all need someone with skin on. That's not a question mark. The question is, can you be that person with skin on? And then Annie goes on to say, I every day try to feed people who are hungry, give water to the thirsty, and be God with skin. And we're going to remember that line this week because that's our work. Can I be God with skin right now? And if I am, then how do I live? The sense of purpose in life gives us a path. We might fall down, get distracted, meander, or forget. All this is a possibility. We have a path we can follow to a life that is less disconnected, happier, and much freer. That's the most important thing of all. And that's the end of chapter 7. And it is. Chapter 8, then, she calls it the light of clarity. I call it the clarity of love. I'm going to stick with that. The clarity of love. Where is it in evidence? Where is it in short shrift? And how do we know the difference? First here, you'll see the blue. The true nature of the mind is described as free, unconfined, expansive, like the sky. The mind only as it is then joined with the heart is capable of this. The mind alone, I don't know. I'm not so confident. It doesn't mean you don't see clearly, but it is not sufficient. It is not sufficient. If you can then not act with the heart, what good is it? And this is where mindfulness, which in its original term, sati, S-A-T-I, or citta, C-I-T-T-A, never meant just the mind. Doesn't mean that. It never meant that. It meant the heart mind, which is what I try to say often, right? The heart mind, because if it's just mind, I don't know, now you're a good sniper. Now you're a good focuser. Now you're a good concentrator, and I have done it. So I do know its benefit. It is good for clear seeing. It is good for stabilizing, but it is not sufficient if you do not have as open, as available, as present a heart, right? Because then what you see simply is seeing. It is not being. It requires all of you and all of me. The true nature of our minds, again, I'm going to stay with heart mind, is permeated by the light of awareness. The inner light manifests as clarity. She's talking about this mindful component, and that's not wrong. It is required. It is the wisdom factor. You can't act lovingly, most skillfully, most wholeheartedly, if you can't see clearly, right? That's not possible. And then if you don't, you can't act to the greatest extent possible, right? So we know that these two must be woven deeply. We can not only inhabit our lives more freely, enjoying whatever is there we can understand our lives more fully, what brings us suffering, what releases us from suffering. When are we strong? How alone are we really? How alone are we really? What's the answer? We're not. We're not. You can't be alone. This is a difficult truth for us until you cut yourself off. Uh-oh. You have to cut yourself off from the truth of this life in order to be lonely, alone. Lonely is just a feeling. To be alone. Why? Because it's not the true nature of things. You are interconnected in all ways. Right? And this is why in the Buddhist Peace Fellowship, they say, if you feel lonely, come join us. We do stuff every day. We volunteer somewhere for somebody every single day. And then you will not feel lonely. You will not. Now, what we often define as lonely is being filled up. It's not the thing I most like. It's not the thing I most want. I don't get to be in those forests or that woods, or I don't get to have that music, right? And so we get greedy. And the greed, its definition of connection is something that I love or enjoy, and that is in some way self-feeding. Doesn't mean it doesn't get to be. That's not my point. My point is, if it is, make sure it's self-feeding enough that you can then give to others as well. If it's just you, it's probably a problem. Likely now, actually an addiction. If it's just you. And so that's the thing. That's what I was thinking about yesterday. 2 plants. Is this just because I had 2 pots and I don't need to go in there? Is that the thing I most needed to be doing? And again, it's nobody else's job to decide yes or no, is it? It's for you to know what was that from your own real heart. What was that about? From your own real heart. What do I most deeply want? That's a dangerous question. Want? What would I benefit from letting go of? These are the four, she asks these key phrases. What do I believe is possible for me in my life? What are the forces of constraint and restriction I can work through? What's in my way? What are the hindrances that I'm bringing to this lack of opening wider, of being bigger, of including more? What's in the way? Often, what? Busyness. I'm already got the train going that way. And the second reason, very inconvenient. Damn it, very inconvenient. I got to get in the car. I got to go downtown. I don't know. Really? Like, isn't there an easier way? No. I don't think so. I don't think there is. Even when we do work that is in the service of others, we have to watch that also, because you can lean on that, can't you? A little bit, like, I do it every day because the thing I do. And for those in healthcare, for those in caring, giving roles, we can also mistake that and not then give sufficiently to ourselves. That can be the number one error, by the way, is, I do that all day, but then I'm exhausted, depleted, and can't be loving to myself or to my own family or to those in need. And we have to watch that. I still can't get the page. I just don't know what's going on with that. This is like 3 or 4 pages in. Being willing to ask the question of what's important. This is a nice question. Is this most important? Now, I don't mean in the whole world, because I don't know, that may be a tough one to, but relative to the options, maybe, right? Like, were the plants the most important thing I could do, given the options? Was that and the answer was no. I actually decided the most important thing was getting a hold of my mother, which was not working very well. And I think I went to do the plants as a way of doing something, actually. Going, okay, so I picked up stuff on the deck. I cleaned up a little. Not bad, right? We all need to attend to things in life. But I think it was because I couldn't do the thing I thought was most important. She wasn't answering the phone. That I went, okay, do something, because just sitting is likely not useful. Although now I don't know. No, I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe that would have been the very most important thing to drop in on. Howard Thurman, who is a philosopher, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and go do that, because what the world needs is people who are alive. Watch for that idea, again, because make me feel good. Well, nourishing for sure, fueling for sure. Just what I like, I think we have to watch it. I think we have to watch the difference. I think that's a key. I think we can get confused. We might be doing just the thing we always do. And that's probably a habit if we're just doing that, right? Doesn't mean we don't get to do that either. So, but right, we're always looking at these in-between states. Where's the line between just doing what I do and really actively opening to what the world is asking and life is asking of me in this moment? We go through times when our perspectives shift. I call these moments of awakening, when we see new possibilities and what has held us back from it. lack of creativity, a sense of, again, inconvenience, I think, and not knowing, like, "Ugh, how do I get to Hemet? What am I going to do when I get there?" I don't know. It's a little confusing. And I've got some stuff planned. This could all get complicated, right? But it's the right question. It's the right question. Even if I don't come up with a brilliant answer, the question's right. And I can appreciate that question for myself and for others. And I understand that we're all asking that. She has a thing about the description of insights, what the benefits of meditation. One is stability of mind. That's number one, just a mind that can sustain attention. I don't know if you're noticing, but we don't have much of that going on. There's not too much sustained attention happening here. I have noticed being very annoyed by the lack of attention and the lack of our training for it. I call it squirrel mind. I'm just stunned by right, and without really holding anything then. And that distraction is very much in the service of staying shut down and disconnected. Because if you really were paying attention, what would you do? Well, you'd have to feed them, wouldn't you? You'd have to feed them. You couldn't go and not do it. You'd have to go rescue. You'd have to get food. You'd have to go get clothes. This would be required, right? And not very handy, is it? Not that much. These experiences, like all experiences, come and go and are exciting and lovely, but also beside the point of being free. The moments they're talking about there are the ones we like: equanimity, peace, ease, right? We love these moments, and they're not bad moments. We need them too, right? We need them to balance the doing, to balance the turning towards suffering, the acknowledging the needs. We need those moments of peace and equanimity also. This is the balancing that we're all working on, I think, all the time. And I know we're doing so as consciously as we can. I know we are, because we talk about it every week. The true transformation comes within us, with how we approach everything, pleasant, painful, or neutral. It comes from what is born of connection, of openness. It comes from what is molded from the material that life presents us. Your job is not to figure out how to end world hunger. It's to figure out how your neighbors, what they need, and then your block, and then your town, and then that group of people you happen to see. That is sufficient. And we often, she's talking really a lot about caregivers who and activists who get overwhelmed because they can't solve the big problem. But we can always solve the little one, can't we? Isn't that always doable? We can always drop a couple cans off. We can always smile. We can always let the guy go. We can always let them in line, can't we? So I don't know about world hunger. That's not my mission beyond what I can do today. And what I can do today is plenty, right? Beginning with offering my own kindness, offering my own genuine wish for others and my own well-being. Start there. Can we start there? We can rely not on rigid opinion or belief, but rather on clarity itself to recognize certain impulses and emotions. I've been down this road before. This resentment, grasping, endless self-criticism is wrapped up in such shiny paper. We get hooked. It's actually addictive. It's bigger than candy. In the light of clarity, we can ask ourselves, in my family, what is the price of belonging? In my circle of friends, in my community? And I asked another question, what is the price of not belonging? It's as big as staying separate, disconnected, right? And they both are relevant, aren't they? Can we feel the relevance of the question? What is the price of belonging? If you have to pay too much, which means denial, which means self-aggression, which means aggression towards others to be okay. Probably not workable. And what is the price of not belonging to that which is sufficient, which is good, which is enough, that we are also capable of, and that we pay attention, I think, in an ongoing way. That's one of our practice questions. What is the price of belonging and not belonging? She goes on to talk more about being who we truly are, which is all of our aspiration, our most loving, most open, most wise sources. She and Bell Hooks were friends. Bell has since died, but Bell was a meditation teacher, and she quotes her again. One of the mighty illusions that is constructed in the dailiness of life is that all pain is a negation of worthiness, that the real chosen people, the real worthy people, are the people that are most free from pain. Whoops. Those who, don't we say, got it all, got it together, right? As if there's such a thing. First of all, it's a delusion, because we cannot get out of the truth of this human suffering. I don't care which neighborhood you live in. Forget about it. And I asked the question, how do you recognize the part of you that blames the victim in yourself and your own life, and then blames others? How do we do it? Right? We often say, well, they should have it together. Look at all they've got. No. Size of your fence does not determine the extent to which you are awake. By the way, maybe inversely so. Right? Does not determine it. It is not sufficient. All the money and all the time and all the does not free us. And we know this for sure. There's no question. We live in a town of plenty. And yet, I've been struck for a long time, it says here, at the cruelty of a society that ties being frightened or confused or different or not being able to afford something with humiliation, as though your very life was worth less than another's. We are very, very prone to that here. Very, very prone. Somehow you didn't get it right if you can't live in the dream or in paradise or whatever it is you think is going on. Here, another quote, my delight in the autumn colors is always tinged with melancholy, a sense of impending loss that is only heightened by the beauty all around. I feel the power of metaphor. I'm easily fixated on surface appearances, on the decline of meaning, the decay of relationships, the death of a work. So he notices both the dying that comes with all things that are manifest, right? We could say born. It's just a part of its nature. Can we see in it also a beauty, not just the tragedy of it? Do you sense your own focus on what is changing and ending versus the reality of the ever-flowing life all around you? Yeah, right? How would these two perspectives influence your response? Holding both, how would it impact? Recognizing both the beauty as well as the ever-changing reality. An example of that, really, I'll give you a simple one. I had some roses on my desk and the petals have started to fall. And as they fall, they just land on the table. And actually, they're as or more beautiful. I actually see the colors a little more in the individual petals. I also notice the variation of the colors a little bit more than when they're just in that blossom form. And can I acknowledge both the death of the rose and its beauty and its impact? And the answer is no, we are slightly prone to liking the rose in its bud-like form, not so tolerant of the withered petal. Right? In fact, I put one of the older roses, I'm going to show it to you just because the point is somewhat poignant here. Here's the rose. This is an older rose, and I was cutting it. And as I was cutting it, my gardener was going, "You don't probably want to keep that one, do you?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly the one I want to keep. That's the one that comes off of my father's tree." Right? And its beauty and its vulnerability. The petals are just going to start falling. And can I acknowledge both? Right? This is our path, not just the beauty of the fresh or the new. And our habits are such, aren't they? And this is poignant for me because there is my mother again in, sort of faded rose place. And can I appreciate her? Can I appreciate her in both her beauty and her vulnerability? And can I open to that? Not just, this is hard or frustrating, and in fact, it is not really hard or frustrating. It is not easy. Also, that is true. I don't know. I'm going to help best. And that's okay. We don't have to get that all fixed because we're probably not going to. There's the autumn. He brings some additional, he says, on the surface, it seemed that life was lessening, but silently and lavishly, the seeds of new life were always being sown. Actually, those petals falling also mean that there are seeds falling as well. And we forget that, don't we? But what a beautiful metaphor, right? The little black seeds go everywhere, but we forget to notice. How do we hold this perspective without falling into the default of spiritual bypassing, which is another habit of ours, isn't it? It's to go, oh no, but look at all the good news. This is not that handy. Look, but look. And one of the things I remember when my grandfather was, we knew that he was failing, was, oh, but look how old he is. Look how long he's lived. Now, all true. This is not a lack of truth, but it comes at a very inconvenient time. It comes as we are grieving the loss of our family patriarch. Live to be so, yeah, it's all true. But how do we hold both? See, this is harder. How do we hold both the grief at the loss and also the beauty at the life of it? And the answer is you hold both. You recognize both. You keep speaking to the truth of both, not one or the other. And you certainly don't paste one on top of the other. Not that helpful. But, right, so if you're making but statements instead of and statements, you're probably spiritually bypassing. But think of all the good. True. And the pain of the loss is still here. And doesn't it get to be? The life I end up with will be artificial at best and utterly colorless as well. Yes, it will. Living and dying and living. The life I am given with real color and beauty and fruit and wholeness is both. And so we're going to hang on to that. She talks about kindness. I'm not going to do that. Sankni, lovely. He's the only Rinpoche left. They have all been thrown out, essentially because of addictive behaviors of one sort or another, mostly due to either abuses, verbal or other, And Sankni is one of the remaining, which is really quite a statement, isn't it? About how you can know everything and nothing all at once. He says that this kindness in itself is a means of awakening the spark of love within you and helping others to discover that spark within themselves. Yes, why? I then am worthy of love, right? I am worthy. Those people that we just saw on Saturday, who you could look directly in the eye and say, I hope you're well. How are you? Right? That's an expression of worthiness. And then living that beyond is also important and relevant. In the course of our lives, upsetting bits of memory, feelings get magnetized and begin to fasten together. We like to call that the self. Eventually, we have a clump of blocked energy, held in passion for life, ready assumptions about our failures and our unworthiness, or the opposite, how great we think we are. Both of them are limitations. What can you recognize as the clump fastening of your own attachments that you struggle to release, that limit your perspective and your life? Can you name their origin and their impact on how limiting they are to you? Clumping, fastening together of our own attachments into a false self, really. That's not all that we are. And then she goes, they use a woman's Call of the Wild book. It's very lovely to talk about trauma, and that trauma is that clumping together. I think if you could think of it that way, it's this gathering of the negative, the gathering of the what didn't happen, what didn't work, what was deficient, into a limiting perspective about oneself and then the world. We fixate and then cannot digest, it says, the reality, because we are only focused on what did not occur or what did occur that was painful. And they are all true, right? It's not untrue, but it is limited still, isn't it? Because you have survived. And what is that in you? And then how do you act, live, to prevent that for others, right? How do I then live with the reality that there are this suffering in the world? I didn't want to spend too much time on the trauma. I think it's an interesting section. She talks about the limitations of mindfulness. Also the tendency to focus on the negative, and they gave a little example of who was it? Sharon's friend, lovely teacher. I've forgotten her name. She's an older, Sylvia Borstein. Sylvia saying, I remind myself that not every bus ends up in the ditch. And this is good also, isn't it? That not every story ends in suffering. It isn't true. That they're even in endings that we don't like, that there was love there, that there was care, that there was work towards healing that is always also happening, and that we tend not to focus on that because we don't like the outcome. We don't like the reality that everything also ends. And so we focus only there instead of also, not only, on the whole. How do we integrate all these experiences rather than just focusing on the parts that are activating or distressing for us? And that requires a stable mind, doesn't it? Wow. Because the brainstem will take us right down the chute into fight or flight otherwise. But not with the practice. Gives us more space, more room, more option. I'm going to stop with this. Erasing the divide between our espoused values and the intentions guiding our day-to-day actions matters. Erasing the divide between our values and the way we live every day matters. To enjoy integrity or wholeness, you could say, we stop fragmenting and compartmentalizing our lives as much as we might tend to do. As much as we might tend to do. And I'm going to stop there. I'll put this thing so that we can, I have sent out the questions for chapter 8 to reflect on them. There's a couple things I want us to deeply remember. One is, can we remember God with skin? Can we call God to skin to mind? And then how do you live that? How do you live that? That would be a first beautiful practice. The second would be that we keep sending the blessings throughout the day, that we tend to mistake our care for things that are large. You have to get down and feed all the homeless in San Diego. Well, that's a lovely aspiration, and it may not manifest like that, but it doesn't mean you can't take those couple of cans somewhere, right? It doesn't mean you can't go check and see who's hanging out around the McDonald's who hasn't eaten, because, or the Starbucks, by the way, you don't have to go very far, right? And that we actually get closer to our real lives. Because when our aspirations are intentions are too large, we will fail. And then we get discouraged and quit, right? And we all, yeah, but it's just a can. Yes, exactly. And that's the beauty of it. One guy, one woman, one can. Perfect. Right? And let's see if we can't find ways to enact that, especially in this week of freedoms. In celebrating freedom, at the minimum, you would hope one of the essential freedoms would be food. That you would have the privilege of food and shelter at the minimum. And so how are you going to respond? Just now, how are you going to? And remember, watch for the idea that it must be big to matter. It doesn't. All right, everyone, blessings to you all. Thank you for being here. I will be putting this, sending this. Thank you, Robin. I'll be sending this to everyone in our group because I know we have many traveling, and then be thinking about St. Andrews for next Tuesday. What a beautiful timing to consider making a contribution one way or another. Carrie, is there something you'd like to say?
No, just hello and love you. Have a nice day.
Love you too. Thank you. Good day to everyone. Be well. Celebrate the good, celebrate those freedoms, and contribute to them. Figure out how you're getting.
This is my 47th anniversary of becoming a citizen. I became a citizen in the bicentennial.
Wow. Congratulations. Yes, no kidding.
Woo.
Wow.
Woo,
That is
woo, woo.
pretty. Well, I can't think of a better thing to celebrate right there.
Yeah.
We need Carrie here, don't we? So I'm glad she's a citizen. Yay. That's lovely. All right, everyone, have a wonderful 4th, however you choose to celebrate or be at ease, whatever that turns out to be. Be well. I'll talk to you on Saturday, and I believe Greg will be here on Thursday as well. So see you all then.
Sounds great. See you.